Mazda's latest rotary engine doesn't just revive a legend, it rewrites the rules. This compact machine delivers more power than engines twice its size, while running cleaner and lighter than today's electric motors. Engineers claim it can match EV efficiency without the heavy batteries that weigh cars down. But the real shock isn't what it does in the lab. It's what happens when this engine hits the road. And the answer may completely change how you think about the electric vehicle industry. Rotary resurgence, the engine that refuses to die. For years, electric cars seemed unstoppable. Then Mazda stepped forward with a revelation that could shake the entire industry to its core. The announcement shaking the EV world right now isn't about a bigger battery or a faster charger. It's about an engine that most of the industry buried over a decade ago. Mazda's Rotary, once written off as too thirsty, too fragile, and too dirty, is suddenly back in the spotlight. And this time, it's being pitched not as a nostalgic throwback, but as the weapon that could break the EV steamroller momentum. Mazda's obsession with the Rotary isn't new, but its roots are more practical than romantic. The company first gambled on the design in the late 1960s, when it was a small automaker fighting for a place on the world stage. The Rotary's compact size and smooth, high-revving nature let Mazda build lighter, more agile cars than its piston engine rivals. By the late 1970s and 1980s, the RX-7 became a global sports car icon. Lightweight, nimble, and unmistakable for its screaming rotary wail. But the engine's flaws, poor fuel economy, unreliable apex seals, and rising emissions eventually caught up. Regulations forced Mazda to end production of the RX-8 in 2012, and the Rotary seemed destined for history books. Yet, it never disappeared. Enthusiasts kept the legend alive, tuning old RX-7s and RX-8s into high-horsepower machines for drifting and racing. Meanwhile, inside Mazda, engineers quietly kept working on better seals, more efficient combustion, and cleaner emissions. The Rotary wasn't dead, it was in hiding. Then, in 2023, Mazda shocked everyone. Instead of reviving a sports car, it slipped a rotary engine into an unlikely candidate, the MX-30 REV, a small electric crossover. At first glance, it looked like any other EV, but under the hood sat a tiny 830 cubic centimeter single-rotor engine, not to power the wheels, but to act as an onboard generator. This setup directly targeted EV drivers' biggest fear: running out of charge far from a plug. In the city, the MX-30 behaved like a normal electric car, drifting for about 50 miles on battery power alone. But once the battery dipped, the Rotary switched on to feed electricity back into the pack, extending total range to more than 370 miles. Drivers didn't have to worry about hunting for chargers or being stranded in rural areas. This wasn't just a clever workaround. It solved several of the Rotary's old problems. Acting only as a generator meant the engine ran at a steady, optimized speed, cutting wear and fuel use. Improved seals, better cooling, and high-pressure injection made it more efficient and far cleaner than the engines that came before it. European spec versions reached about 168 horsepower, returned roughly 40 miles per gallon in generator mode, and easily met modern emissions standards. The MX-30 wasn't built to thrill enthusiasts. Its modest acceleration, around 9 seconds to 60 miles per hour, made that clear. But it proved the concept worked. Car owners praised the freedom of driving electric in the city and relying on the Rotary's steady hum for long trips. For the first time, an EV offered both the smoothness of battery power and the range security of liquid fuel without the bulk and cost of a huge battery pack. Inside Mazda, the MX-30 REV became a live test bed. Engineers gathered real-world data, refined the technology, and quietly prepared for a bigger move. Rotary fans saw it as a signal that their beloved engine wasn't just being revived for nostalgia's sake. EV makers noticed too, because Mazda was hinting at a future where range anxiety and charging delays, two of the EV industry's biggest hurdles, might suddenly have an alternative answer. Now, as whispers grow of an RX-9 class sports car, and even Rotary hybrid crossovers built to challenge mainstream EVs, the stakes are higher than ever. But what truly rattled the electric vehicle giants wasn't the MX-30. It was a quiet technical document Mazda filed next. Buried in that patent was a 6-stroke rotary design that promised to rip up the rules of both gasoline and electric power. The 6-stroke breakthrough, Mazda's patent that threatens to upend EV dominance. The real shock to the EV industry didn't come from a new battery or faster charger. It came from a single patent Mazda filed in August 2025, a 6-stroke rotary engine that rewrites how a gasoline motor works. And delivering on its promise, it will make electric cars look like a dead-end detour. At first glance, it's still the familiar spinning rotor. But Mazda's new design adds 2 extra strokes to the usual 4, and those extra moves do something extraordinary. They strip hydrogen out of ordinary gasoline while the engine runs. That means the engine burns hydrogen right in the chamber, slashing carbon output, while most of the remaining carbon is trapped instead of going out the tailpipe. The car still fills up at a regular pump, but what comes out of the exhaust is far cleaner, enough to make regulators take notice. The rotary at the heart of this patent is surprisingly simple. It's a compact single-rotor unit, but it's built to handle more than one type of fuel. New seals and injectors can work with gasoline, biofuels, synthetic blends, or even pure hydrogen. This flexibility stands in sharp contrast to electric vehicles, which rely on costly battery minerals and a single energy pathway. A major weakness of older rotaries, the fragile apex seals, has been tackled head-on. Mazda coats the new seals in diamond-like carbon that's about 3 times tougher than what came before, pushing expected service life to 150,000 miles and removing the rebuild worries that haunted past owners. Higher compression, variable port timing, and more precise control over airflow let the engine run efficiently in slow city traffic and still deliver full power on highways. Heat, once the rotary's biggest enemy, is now handled by redesigned oil passages that carry it away 30% faster. This keeps the engine stable even at 10,000 revolutions per minute. Ultra-high-pressure fuel injectors spray a fine mist that burns more completely, boosting efficiency and cutting waste. In hybrid setups, the extra 2 strokes recover heat energy to create even more hydrogen on the go, raising combined fuel economy while keeping emissions far below older engines. The package is light, less than 100 pounds, compared to EV battery packs that can top 1,000. That means better weight balance, sharper handling, and strong performance without adding bulk. Paired with electric motors in a hybrid system, it delivers instant torque at launch and sustained power at speed, without the range anxiety that dogs pure EVs. Cost is the final twist. Building this engine relies on ordinary steel and common manufacturing processes, avoiding the rare earth metals and expensive supply chains tied to batteries. Mazda's own estimates suggest it could cut drivetrain costs by roughly a quarter. For the EV industry, the threat is clear. A light, cheap, multi-fuel rotary that runs cleaner than many hybrids and sidesteps battery bottlenecks could tempt buyers who hesitate to go fully electric. Yet, the 6-stroke breakthrough was only the opening shot. Mazda understood that to win drivers over, it had to exploit the one weakness that still haunts even the most advanced EVs, the very thing most EV buyers fear on long drives. And before we dive into that crucial vulnerability, do us a favor. Hit the like button if you're enjoying this extensive review. It helps us keep bringing you stories like this. EV's hidden weak spot, the cracks, Mazda plans to exploit. The electric vehicle revolution has a weakness most automakers would rather you ignore. It's not about style or brand loyalty. It's about the one factor that keeps drivers awake on the road: range. Mazda's engineers saw this vulnerability early, and their new Rotary technology looks designed to strike right at it. In 2025, surveys showed that 3 out of every 4 potential EV buyers still worry about running out of charge before finding a station. That fear isn't imaginary. Even models advertised with 300 miles of range often fall short in real-world driving. Turn on the air conditioning in summer, or fight strong winds on the highway, and that range can drop to around 250 miles. Winter makes it worse. Batteries lose efficiency in freezing conditions, sometimes cutting range by as much as 40%. For drivers in colder regions, what was supposed to be a stress-free trip can become a constant calculation of how far they can go before they're stuck. Costs add another layer of doubt. The battery pack alone makes up about 40% of an EV's sticker price. Replacing one out of warranty can run from $5,000 to $16,000, often within 8 to 10 years. That's like buying another car just to keep the first one running. Even the green image has limits. Mining for lithium and cobalt damages the environment and depends on unstable supply chains. Battery prices have fallen over the years, but still hang around $139 per kilowatt-hour, which is high for many mainstream buyers. Then there's the charging network. There may be over 5 million public charging points worldwide, but they're unevenly spread. Rural areas often have few, and even in cities, drivers can face long waits at slower Level 2 chargers. Fast chargers are growing fast, up 75% since 2022, but nearly half of EV drivers complain about stations that don't work properly or that degrade battery health when used too often. Maintenance is another surprise. EVs do save money on routine items like oil changes, but when something goes wrong, an inverter failure, a battery management glitch, repairs often require specialized service centers and can be expensive. And resale value? That's a sore point. EVs lose nearly 59% of their value within 5 years, compared to about 46% for gasoline cars. Buyers worry about worn-out batteries, and that's pushing used EV prices down sharply. All of this has slowed EV adoption, especially for drivers who take long trips or live far from major cities. Mazda is aiming directly at these pain points. Their 6-stroke Rotary promises to offer cleaner emissions, faster refueling, and lower costs, all without the range anxiety and battery headaches. But knowing the weakness wasn't enough. Mazda had to prove that its Rotary hybrid could not only close those gaps, but also beat EVs at the very things that made them so appealing in the first place. Rotary's counterpunch. The specs that threaten EV dominance. The real threat to electric vehicles isn't coming from another battery breakthrough. It's coming from a machine most experts thought was finished decades ago: the Rotary engine. Mazda's latest hybrid setup doesn't just close EVs' biggest gaps, it flips their strongest selling points on their head. Start with range, the problem that keeps most buyers on the fence. Mazda's Rotary hybrid delivers more than 600 miles on a single tank and a quick battery top-up. City commuters can still drive the first 50 miles on silent electric power, but when the charge runs low, the Rotary takes over as a steady generator. No detours hunting chargers, no panic when the battery gauge dips below 20%. Price hits next. By skipping giant lithium-ion packs and using a compact steel-built Rotary instead, Mazda is aiming for entry prices around $35,000. That undercuts the Tesla Model 3's $44,000 starting price by roughly 20%. Fewer rare earth metals mean fewer supply chain risks and lower production costs, which matter for ordinary buyers. Efficiency has also moved far beyond the Rotary's old gas-guzzling reputation. Thanks to modern fuel injection and variable port timing, the new unit manages over 40 miles per gallon in extender mode. Future versions will run on low-carbon synthetic or even hydrogen blends now being cleared by regulators, which could make it cleaner than many pure battery EVs charged from fossil fuel grids. Charging downtime, one of EV ownership's biggest headaches, simply disappears. A 5-minute fuel stop replaces the 40-minute fast charge sessions that leave road trippers stuck at stations. That shift alone changes long-distance travel planning overnight. Durability is no longer a weak spot. Mazda's diamond-coated apex seals and advanced cooling now target a 200,000-mile service life, while keeping routine upkeep simpler and cheaper than high-voltage EV repairs. Without a giant battery pack losing capacity each year, resale values hold up better too. Another pressure point on EV economics. Performance gains are also real. Ditching heavy battery modules trims curb weight by about 300 pounds, giving Mazda's hybrids sharper handling and steadier launches than many mass-market EVs. Drivers get smooth, instant electric pull in the city, then that familiar rotary hum as they cruise highways. No compromise between the two. Most importantly, the Rotary Hybrid offers freedom of choice. Drivers are no longer tied to the charging grid. They can use liquid fuel, synthetic blends, or eventually hydrogen, all while keeping electric drive convenience for daily trips. That flexibility strikes directly at EV's dependence on charging networks and battery supply. This isn't just Mazda filling a niche. It's a serious counterpunch to the EV business model itself, one that forces even giants like Tesla and BYD to rethink their next moves. Still, the fight for the driver's heart would not be won on specs alone. It would be decided in the showroom, on the highway, and in the raw experience behind the wheel. That's where the story takes a sharper turn. So if you know someone who's debating whether to go electric or hybrid, share this video with them before we reveal why so many drivers might start walking away from EVs. The Rotary Edge. Why drivers might walk away from EVs. The greatest threat to the electric vehicle revolution isn't just another car company. It's the moment ordinary drivers realize Mazda's new Rotary Hybrid gives them the speed, freedom, and lower costs they hoped EVs would deliver, without the plug-in limits. That realization could make millions of buyers turn away from full electrics overnight. The first blow lands in the showroom. Mazda's hybrids are expected to start below $35,000, about 20% less than a base Model 3. The reason is simple. The Rotary engine is compact and cheap to build. Mazda doesn't need to load the car with massive lithium-ion packs, which can make up 40% of an EV's price. That cost saving means a buyer can step into a sporty hybrid without the premium EV sticker shock or the worry of a future $15,000 battery replacement. The next hit comes on the road. In hybrid mode, once the electric-only range of roughly 50 miles is used, the rotary generator keeps the battery charged while delivering more than 40 miles per gallon. With one quick top-off at any regular fuel pump, the car can cover 600-plus miles, more than many gasoline sedans. Refueling takes 5 minutes, not an hour on a charger, erasing the range roulette that still holds some drivers back from EVs. The ownership math keeps tipping the scales. EV batteries gradually lose capacity, often requiring expensive replacements after 8 to 10 years. Mazda's rotary generator uses well-understood mechanical parts, mainly seals and cooling systems that can keep the car running past 200,000 miles with lower service bills. Analysts expect maintenance costs to be about 40% less than a comparable EV, and resale values to stay stronger since there is no battery degradation to scare off used car buyers. Then there's the driving experience, an emotional factor that can sway enthusiasts. The hybrid's instant electric push off the line is backed by the Rotary's rising torque, delivering 0 to 60 times under 5 seconds. That mix provides the sharp response of an EV, but with a more involving feel. Drivers who miss the sound and feedback of engines get something to enjoy, while commuters still get smooth, quiet electric running in traffic. Lastly, there's the environmental angle. By running on biofuels or even hydrogen, the Rotary hybrid can hit carbon-neutral targets without relying on the heavy mining needed for large battery packs. That combination, lower emissions, lower costs, no dependence on a still-growing charging network, creates a practical path that appeals to both budget-minded families and performance fans. Put together, these factors explain why Mazda's Rotary hybrid is more than a nostalgic experiment. It offers a realistic alternative that chips away at the core advantages EV makers have been selling. If it works as planned, it could slow EV adoption in key markets, and that is why the industry is watching so closely. And it wasn't just buyers paying attention. In corporate boardrooms from California to Shanghai, the shockwaves of Mazda's move were already forcing the biggest EV players to reconsider their next steps. Ripples in the ranks. How Mazda's Rotary move shook the giants. Mazda's Rotary comeback didn't just make headlines. It sent a chill through the electric vehicle industry. A single announcement indicated that the push toward an all-electric future might not be as unstoppable as everyone believed, and suddenly the giants of the EV industry began to wonder if the ground under their feet was about to give way. The real warning bell rang when Mazda's CEO Masahiro Moro formally launched the Rotary Engine Development Group on February 1st. That move was more than a corporate memo. It signaled a comeback plan aimed at getting the iconic SP sports car on the road by 2027, a car promising around 400 horsepower in a hybrid package. For EV leaders like Tesla, it meant some of the same customers lining up for Cybertrucks or Model 3s might now be tempted by a Rotary-powered alternative. Tesla's strength has always rested on its supercharger network, software updates, and massive battery production lines, but those advantages matter less to customers in regions with poor charging coverage. A Rotary hybrid that can top up at any gas station and still run partly electric exposes that weak spot. Analysts already warn that Mazda's plan could peel 5 to 10% of would-be EV buyers off the fence, enough to dent growth if even a fraction of them switch. In China, BYD has pushed EV prices lower than anyone else, selling models like the Seagull for under $10,000. But those cars depend on cheap batteries and heavy production subsidies. Mazda's hybrid approach, priced near $30,000, compatible with biofuels and soon hydrogen, undercuts BYD's advantage in export markets, especially where tariffs and supply chain risks raise the true cost of imported battery packs. Japan's reaction has been more complicated. Toyota, long criticized for resisting the all-EV rush, sees Mazda's hybrid push as vindication. It fits with Toyota's long-standing multi-path strategy, betting on hybrids and future hydrogen while rivals went all in on batteries. Industry chatter already hints at future collaborations between Mazda and Toyota on Rotary hybrid sports cars. Honda, meanwhile, is reported to be studying Mazda's latest Apex seal advances for possible use in its next-generation hybrid SUVs. In Europe, luxury brands that invested billions in battery-only platforms are now facing fresh pressure. With only about 300,000 public chargers across the continent, many concentrated in cities, Rotary hybrids priced at around €40,000 and capable of running on synthetic fuels could become attractive alternatives, especially in rural markets. BMW, Mercedes, and Audi are said to be revisiting hybrid strategies that had been shelved. Even in the United States, the change is being felt. Ford and GM, which have poured resources into all-electric platforms like Ultium, are monitoring Mazda's progress closely. A reliable, affordable hybrid that can bypass charging limits could force them to hedge bets sooner than planned. Moro's early 2025 announcement has set off a chain reaction. But shaking the giants is one thing, toppling them is another. The coming years will test whether the Rotary's comeback is a fleeting tremor or the first crack in the EV empire's foundation. Rotary's moment of truth. Can it break EV dominance or fade away? The big unknown hanging over the industry right now isn't how fast EVs will grow. It's whether Mazda's Rotary hybrid can truly upend the electric trend before it runs out of momentum. Late September 2025 has brought fresh hints that the answer may come sooner than expected. Insiders say a full RX-9 concept reveal could land in 2026, and if that launch lands strong, it could signal that the Rotary revolution isn't a passing headline, but a real threat to the EV order. Back in June, Mazda's chief technical officer, Ryoichi Umeshita, said the Rotary hybrid tech for a new RX-7 style sports car was almost ready. That statement raised expectations that the iconic SP concept shown earlier could move from design studio to production floor by 2027. The catch is that Mazda's board will green-light the push only if pre-order interest and sales forecasts justify the investment. A weak response would stall the project and leave the Rotary as a niche experiment. Mazda's strategy is broader than one halo car. Alongside the two-seat sports model, it plans mainstream hybrid crossovers priced near $30,000, aimed at buyers who want to escape charging station dependence but still benefit from electric efficiency. These models lean on synthetic and biofuels to cut emissions without the cost or range risk of big battery packs. This multi-tier plan positions Rotary hybrids as a practical alternative for families as well as enthusiasts. Future-proofing plays a role, too. Mazda has patents in place for hydrogen-compatible Rotary hybrids and even Rotary-assisted fuel cell systems. That gives them flexibility if regulations shift toward zero-emission rules, while the electric charging network still struggles in rural areas and developing markets. If infrastructure progress remains slow, Rotary's 600 to 700-mile range and quick refueling will stay attractive. EV leaders aren't standing still. Tesla is pushing toward cheaper solid-state batteries and expanding its supercharger network. BYD is investing in sodium-ion cells to cut costs. If those technologies scale quickly and infrastructure gaps close, the Rotary advantage could shrink. On the other hand, if Mazda can capture strong early demand, industry watchers say 50,000 unit sales in the first year could be a tipping point. The hybrid approach could reshape strategies across the market. The upcoming years will reveal whether the Rotary is a genuine disruptor or just a brief detour in the shift toward full electrification. For now, it represents the clearest challenge yet to the idea that batteries alone will define the future of driving. The real question is whether buyers, especially in markets tired of range anxiety and charging delays, will back it strongly enough to keep that challenge alive. And that question now shifts to you. Do you believe Mazda's Rotary hybrid strategy, blending freedom from chargers with long-range, multi-fuel power, can truly shut down the EV momentum? Tell us what you think in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want to follow the twists ahead in the battle for the future of driving, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next big shock to the EV world. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.